guys, welcome to what I guess is now YouTube. Usually I post these things on Instagram, but I've had more people asking me how I specifically make certain things, and I was thinking maybe it would help if I gave a longer video, since I can't teach everyone individually to sew because, guys, I only have one sewing machine. But in case anyone was ever curious or just wanted to learn more about how I sew, here's a video. So this video we will be covering the Wendy dress that I made recently, which we have here. You can't see the whole thing, but unfortunately, that's how videos work sometimes. I am a self-taught seamstress, so everything I teach is going to be how I learned it. Probably not necessarily always like the correct way to sew something, but take it with a grain of salt. If you try it and you're like, yeah, this works for me, I love this, keep doing it. If you try it and you're like, oh my god, Emma, why would you tell me to do this? Then I'll be like, oh guys, I'm so sorry. But it works for me. So first thing I always do when I'm researching a cosplay is, since this is it's an older movie and it's animated, especially when you're doing animated things, I feel like there's a lot more room for interpretation, which technically there's room for interpretation on everything. You can make any costume change how you want it, or anything like that. But for this specifically, I felt like it was a lot easier for me to just be like, all right, I kind of want to add my own things to this and make whatever I want. So for this, I was just researching the shape. This was a really easy, I would say this is like a fairly beginner to hardish beginner outfit. And so I was just like, okay, what shape do I want? And then I found a pattern. I will show you guys. This pattern helped me a lot with the top. I definitely modified things a bit, but as you can see, it's pretty much the same as how it turned out. I get all my fabric from M&L Fabrics now because Joann's is closed, obviously, and sometimes if I need something specific I will get it from Etsy, but not very often because I have very little patience when I'm sewing. When I get something in my mind, I want to make it right away. Sometimes I'll sketch things out, but this was a pretty easy one, and I was like, I know that I want it to be satin layered with chiffon, and I want it to be light blue, so it's pretty easy. I went to the store, I got I guess I can just show you here, but all the lining on this is satin, so it's all, yeah, it's just it was a really cheap satin. I got 5 yards of that, which is plenty, and then I got a chiffon, which is a pretty nice chiffon, also 5 yards, and then I got a trim that I thought I was just gonna use for the hem, but then I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cute if it was on the neckline too? So see, you can change things up as you go as well. I just like threw that on last minute, and I initially thought I was gonna put some around the sleeves, but then I liked the sleeves as they were and I didn't want it to look too overwhelming. So once I had gotten like the trim and then the ribbon, this is double satin, which means that you can flip it either way, which is nice because sometimes I'm just like, I'm tying stuff really tight, like if I'm going to like an event or something. Once I had all the fabric, then I'll start on the top. That's usually kind of just the way things are done. Like if you watch any other like people who make costumes, it's like you make the top and then you make the bottom. There is no right way to do that. This time I'd been in kind of a sewing slump, so I was like, I kind of want to make the bottom first. So I was like, let's just do this because I like making skirts so much. And I essentially just made a circle skirt. As it sounds, it is literally just a circle. It's one of the easiest things you can make. If you want to start something easy and you want to feel like you accomplished a lot, a circle skirt will do that, because you just measure your waist, and my waist is 27. So I divided it by 6.28. I had to look it up because I was like, I know it was there's a specific measurement you're supposed to do, and it's that. So 27 divided by 6.8. What my outcome was is what the radius was that I was cutting out. So I would measure from the edge, and then I would just keep measuring to make a little circle. Unfortunately, this skirt's really long. I think it was about 43 inches. That is too many inches to do a proper circle skirt. That's just not enough fabric. That's just how fabric is cut. So I folded my fabric in half, I cut out the radius, and then I had half a circle, which was like, okay, but I still need the other 2 halves. And since the back is open, I didn't need another half circle. I just needed 2 quarter circles. So I cut those out, and then I had all my pieces. I did the same thing for the chiffon because we just needed equal parts for both. Then I sewed all the pieces together so that it was one full circle, except the back is still open, obviously, because we need a zipper. This is not fabric that has a give. You're not going to be able to just like slide it over your head. If you want that, you need like some sort of knit, like a jersey or something. But that, for me, that's not gonna look like Wendy. So I was like, I don't wanna do that, even though it's nice to avoid putting zippers in because zippers are a pain in the ass. This one was actually really easy. I had all the pieces together. Then I sewed the two together at the top. You can't really see because of the ribbon, but I just sewed the two together. Then once I'd done that, I put the trim around the edges, which, guys, that took way too long. And I ran out of trim halfway through, so then I had to go to the fabric store and get more. So when you're getting the trim, I recommend getting 9 yards or more, depending on if you want to do this, if you want to add it to the sleeves. If you're going to add it to the sleeves, get 10. If you're just going to do this, get 9. And also if you're bigger chested or you have like more room here, I am part of the small titty committee, friends. So this is, I don't need much. So I just say 10, just to be safe. Get 10 yards. If you're feeling crazy, get 11. But do not get 5, which is what I initially did. I don't know what I was thinking. And so once I had that, the skirt was done. Super easy. I kind of left it there. And then as for the top was also incredibly easy because I mostly just followed the pattern. When you use a pattern, you get this. You're gonna look on the back and you're gonna measure. It has measurements right here. You're gonna measure for this because we don't need our hips. Our hips are free flowing. Plus we already made the skirt, so we don't even have to consider that. You're gonna measure your waist and you're gonna measure your bust. And then you're gonna pick whichever pattern is closest to that. Sometimes it doesn't match up and you have to adjust. I was lucky this time. Mine pretty much matched up to a T. So I was size 6, I was using that. So then once you have the pattern, you're gonna get like a piece of parchment and you're gonna lay it all out. And it's gonna have all the pattern pieces on it. You just have to make sure you're using specific ones. For this specific one, I use pattern pieces 1, 2, and 3. You can also use 4 if you want an elastic guide. I usually just wrap the elastic around wherever it's going and then cut it. For me, that's easier and it's almost always a better result. For this, once I cut everything out, I cut out all of the satin and then all of the chiffon for both the pieces. But as for the top, this is where it got complicated. Usually I would flatline, which is not what Grey's Anatomy tells you. It is also that. It is dying. It is your heart stuff. But it is also when you layer fabric one on top of the other and you put like the right side and then the wrong side. And then you put it together and then that's flatlining. Usually I would do that, but I did not want to do that for this because I don't like making darts when it's together like that because it always makes the fabric pucker. So I was layering it on top. This was equally as hard. I honestly can't decide which is better, to just flatline it or to do this. So what I did was I stay stitched first, which is just a way of making sure things don't fray because I was going to line the chiffon with the satin. Which didn't end up working out because I'm very silly and I forgot that that's not how that's gonna work because you don't want to see the wrong sides together. So I just ended up flatlining the whole thing on top of itself, and then I ended up using an extra ribbon as the lining and flipping that over itself and then putting the lace on top to hide it. You can do whatever you see fit. So I stay stitched that to make sure it didn't come undone, especially because these are two fabrics that really like to fray. So then I put the front and the back together. So just the shoulder seams and the 2 back seams. I put darts in it. Then once I did that, I finished all the seams just so it looked clean, and then I put the chiffon and the satin on top of each other, flipped over the lining to do that, and then put the lace on top. I know that sounds like, oh my god, that was so easy. There were multiple mental breakdowns in the top making area. So if you're ever like, wow, it seems so easy that Emma does all this stuff, she's so cool and we love her so much, I'm like, oh my god, you guys. But no, it is hard, and there are times when I'm like, not in like a pity way, but there's definitely times where I'll just be like sitting there crying, just being like, why can't I sew? And that'll happen. You'll accidentally stab yourself with a needle. That'll suck. You'll do something wrong, you'll have to start over. Also sucks, but honestly is worth it because like, look how cute we are. Like it is worth it in that. You just have to be patient with yourself. As for the sleeves, I actually decided to attach the top and the bottom because I was watching House of the Dragon and I didn't want to get up and cut out a whole new thing. So I was like, you know what, this would be fine. I wouldn't recommend doing that. It was really hard to put the sleeves on with this entire skirt that weighs like 10 pounds. Don't do that. But if you really want to do it, if you really want to watch House of the Dragon and you don't want to get up and cut other stuff, then I recommend doing this. I just attach the top and bottom together and then I put the zipper in the back the next morning. I can turn it around. My mannequin's a little bit bigger than me, so it doesn't quite fit, but here's the zipper. It goes all the way down here. I used a 20-inch zipper. Honestly, I'd say you could use anything 12 inches or more, although I don't know if I'd recommend using more than 20 because sometimes if the zipper isn't like needed in a certain area, like in a loose skirt, it can make the outfit look a bit funny. And I honestly kind of wish I would have used like a 16-inch or something. And there are ways to adjust the zipper, but it was just easier to put it in as it was. Once again, if you need help putting in a zipper, they have instructions when you get zippers from like fabric stores, and there's lots of online stuff. That was super, super easy compared to what I usually do because I left the bottom open. Usually the bottom, pretend this is the back seam because this, usually like a whole seam like this will be closed, then you'll put the zipper in the remaining top seams. For me, it works better to leave the entire back open, put the zipper in, and then sew the two parts together. Personally, that just works better for me. I know some people like it the other way. Then it was time to put the sleeves in because I'm like, we need sleeves. So I did flatline these together. I had to gather the top, which is what I was talking about earlier, between the two notches. It'll show you where to put depending on your size. You gather that together so that it fits, because you see how there's like little puffies? That's how you make a puffy sleeve. All you do is gather it. If not, it's just gonna be a straight sleeve. And it's like, Wendy Darling is not a straight sleeve. So, you know, so you can make the sleeve bigger if you want it to be, but I feel like she's kind of delicate. Like she's like a young girl. So I kind of like that it was like a smaller, and I don't really like super puffy sleeves. I know that can be like fashionable. It's just my own personal preference. You do you. Then I made the hem. I forgot I also hemmed the bottom, but that's like super easy. You just turn up the fabric, sew it like half an inch, turn it up again, sew over it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can serge around all the edge. If you have a serger, I just have a zigzag stitch, then you can turn it up once and then the edges are finished. Or you can just use the serger all the way around. If you do have one, I don't recommend just using a zigzag stitch because there will be extra thread. I don't recommend that, but I have done it before. Quite a bit when using chiffon because I lose patience, but it just doesn't look as nice. And in order to avoid that, that's kind of why I used the trim on this, because I did not want to hem chiffon. So you can't even tell. It just looks finished. I hemmed the sleeves, but I hemmed them enough so that I could put elastic through. You just put the elastic, once you like measure around your arm, I just put it around my bicep, which is like, you know, super toned. But I put it around there and then I put it through the hole that I had made. I did like a 3/4 hem just to be safe because I'd rather it be too big than too small, but it kind of turned out perfectly. And I used 3/8 elastic. So super easy to get it through. Then I stitched the elastic down so that it wouldn't come out when I closed the sleeve right here. Just this really small part. Finish those edges. Press them. A lot of people press it with an iron. We haven't had an iron in my house for a really long time. We just got one. I'm still kind of used to doing what I was doing when we didn't have an iron, which is just stitching down one of the seam allowances or both of them if you want to serge them separately. That is a time saver to not stitch them separately because it takes forever. But if you want to be a bougie girl or boy or anybody, be bougie. Like, life is too short. I don't want to though. Once I did that, then I just attached the sleeves here. I put the sleeves in, sewed around like everything else. Then they were on, and initially I was going to put, like I said, this around that. It just looked so nice plain. I was gonna put a bow right here, like a little like white bow, and I got these little clock buttons and they were so cute, you guys, but it just didn't fit. It didn't fit with how I ended up seeing the outfit. And so I was like, I'll save it and I'll do like an Alice cosplay and we can use the clock buttons for that. But yeah, then I just tied the bow around. Yeah, a lot of people stitch bows down so they don't have to lose them or anything. I like when it's separate because it feels more realistic to me. So yeah, I just tied the bow. It was nice because it had a little bit of give in the hip area. I could have made it smaller, but I didn't because my sister wanted to wear it and we're a little bit of different sizes. But when I tie the bow, it's nice because it brings it in and it fits me. Okay, so yeah. That's how I made a Wendy dress, and I hope if you guys are interested in making any sort of Regency dress, this pretty much works for everything. You can make small adjustments if you're feeling your best Bridgerton life. If you're feeling your best Pride and Prejudice life, you might have to adjust the sleeves a little bit. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that I can make more videos in the future and that you guys aren't like, wow, you didn't need this. And honestly, even if you don't, probably still gonna keep making them because I like looking back on them. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. And if you need any help, reach out. I'm always happy to answer questions. So